Prostitution is legal in licensed brothels throughout the state of Nevada, everywhere except the places you want to be, Reno and Las Vegas.
The law specifically states in Nevada that in counties where the population is above 400,000, that would specifically be Reno in northern Nevada and Las Vegas in southern Nevada, that prostitution is absolutely illegal. And based upon that false assumption, many people who are otherwise try to be law-abiding citizens find themselves in trouble.
Prostitution does not necessarily entail engaging in sex in exchange for money or something of value. Prostitution can simply be offering to engage in sex acts. And so a lot of people feel that because there was no sexual conduct, there's no case. Unfortunately, the law does not require sexual conduct to occur.
Prostitution is a misdemeanor. If you're convicted, you likely would face probation, perhaps some jail time, and there's a maximum of up to 6 months of jail time. As well, a lot of times it'll be required that you take an AIDS test and that you stay away from the location where it occurred. But perhaps the worst ramification of a prostitution or solicitation conviction is having it on your record, because it's embarrassing, it's a red flag for employers, and you don't want to be in a situation where you're in a job interview and you want to be talking about your experience and your qualifications, but instead you find yourself explaining why you've been convicted of solicitation. So if you're charged with this offense, you want to do everything that you can now to fight it and keep it off your record.
It's not uncommon on a solicitation case, especially if our client has no prior record, to negotiate a result whereby our client might agree to take a class or post and forfeit some money in exchange for a dismissal or a reduction to a charge like a trespassing charge or a disorderly conduct charge.
The class that clients sometimes are required to take as part of a plea negotiation is commonly known as a John Skull class, which is a one-day class encompassing between 4 to 8 hours, where they're required to attend a session. Sometimes it can be done online. Sometimes the court requires it to actually be done in person. But that often is a class that allows someone to avoid having the soliciting prostitution charge on their record once that class is completed.
Prostitution and solicitation is one of those crimes where it can be surprisingly difficult for the prosecutor to prove the case. And first of all, we find a lot of times that there's ambiguity in the language that's used. So we'll get a police report and in a situation where there was an undercover sting and the undercover was posing as a prostitute. And it'll say, that our client offered the undercover $50 for oral sex. And when we actually get the tape and the transcript and we look at it, it's not nearly that clear. Our client may have said, how much do you charge? And what would I get for that? And where would we do it? And are you a police officer? But there's never a point where our client explicitly says, okay, I'll do it. I'll pay you $50 for a blowjob. And without that sort of explicit language, it's difficult for the prosecutor to prove their case. Also, we find that there's a lot of situations where our client really wasn't serious. So, a lot of guys like to go up to people who they think are hookers and kind of jive with them and pretend like they're bargaining and ask them what they do and pretend like they're a potential customer. But the reality is that they have no intention of going through with it. They have no intention of really paying the person money for sex. And if that was not the intent of our client to really go through with it, then it's not the crime of prostitution.
It's not uncommon in a solicitation case that we would have a defendant that's never been in trouble before. It's often someone who may have a partner. There may be a lot of embarrassment. It may be that you don't want your partner to know that you got in trouble in Las Vegas, specifically that it involved something such as solicitation. So we're very discreet with our clients who come to us with these types of charges. We really do our best to try to fashion a resolution so that the charge will not show up on your record, so there's no explaining to do. And we do understand how this particular charge can be very stigmatizing.